You know, sometimes growing up means facing your demons. Hey everyone, welcome back to Andrew's Wizardly Reads, and as always guys, I'm Andrew. Today I got another book review for you, but before we get to that book review, make sure you are liking and subscribing and hitting that bell notification so you can get regular updates for when I put out new content. I post every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And that said guys, today is it's a little bit of a horror book review. A little bit not though. But I'm gonna definitely put this in the horror category. That's gonna be Stephen King's Later. Guys, this is an interesting book. I just finished reading this a couple hours ago. And I've just been sitting here marinating it going, I really enjoyed that. Now, one thing to keep in mind is if you're thinking Stephen King writes hard case, he doesn't write it very well. Specifically, there's not a whole lot that's hard case here and Later. This is just straight up Stephen King. It feels very much like almost a little bit of a successor to It. It's got some ties to It. But it doesn't tie in directly, so you could read one without reading the other. It's not a direct sequel. It takes place 20 years later, different cities, different characters. It's got some of those multiverse threads kind of sprinkled throughout of it. And essentially this is about this kid named Jamie Conklin. And if you've seen The Sixth Sense, Jamie can see dead people. And but it's very different from the movie. But at the same time, that's a good point of reference to kind of start this book. It was just an absolute delight. The book is very short. It's, I think 250 books. But if you kind of stayed away from Stephen King's Later because you saw Hard Case on the cover, no. Maybe The Colorado Kid. I actually have started The Colorado Kid. And that's more hard case than this. This is just straight up Stephen King. It's a great coming of age story. It's done in the first person narrative. So you're kind of in Jamie's head. And it kind of follows him from the age of I think 6 all the way up to his early 20s. And more so the early 20s are just kind of mentioned. This is just him kind of telling his story and what he went through. And essentially this is set in New York. I believe it's set in New York. Yes. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and say it's set in New York. Setting doesn't really matter when it comes to Stephen King. That's kind of secondary information. But basically, he is the son of this small-time publisher or copy editor. She's with a publication firm. And so the mother is gone through the 2000s or the early recessions, and their family got taken up in this Ponzi scheme. Very alludes to very real life situations. Her mom has a special friend who is a female police detective. It's very alluded to because he's just I didn't understand their relationship while I was growing up. It wasn't until I was much older. If you're familiar with the way that Stephen King tells a story, he will basically tell you what's about to happen. So that can be a bit of an issue for some readers where they're just why would you tell me this? So-and-so's secret would be just, revealed later, and you're oh, well, now I know they have a secret. But at the same time, it kind of acts like a little bit of a thread to kind of pull you through. And like I said, you don't have to wait super long because, A, it's a short book, B, I don't want to spoil anything. So, just showing you the first page, we've got large font and pretty decent. It's very readable. Guys, I flew through this in, I think, 4 hours. On audio. I kind of did an immersion read here. I found the audiobook on Scribd. I had the physical copy. I was in a bit of a slump. I was you know what's different than fantasy or sci-fi? A little bit of hard case. Well, it ended up just being straight up pretty much horror with toned down horror more. But it's still King in Later. Guys, basically because Jamie can see dead people, his mother doesn't believe him. And he's just no, the way it works here is that as a person dies, Jamie can see their physical appearance on what they looked like as they died. So, a lot of this is traumatic for him as a kid, and like his mother thinks that something is wrong. And basically what ends up happening is like, so if like somebody gets hit by a car and, their face gets split, when he sees the dead person, their face is split. If somebody commits, kills themselves with a gun, he can see the entry and the exit wounds as he's like communicating with this person. He can talk to them and they have to tell the truth. Dead man tell no tales. It kind of takes that spin, and basically, if asked a direct question from Jamie, he can force a truth out of them. And so this is used both to his advantage for his family, and it is also exploited by other characters throughout the length of the story. And we kind of get to see throughout his early life how Jamie deals with this, specifically when he is starting to be exploited by other people who find out that he can see dead people. And it's a really, really, really interesting study on like, how would you react if, you could see dead people? And would people believe you, or would people, use this as an advantage, especially when they figure out the caveats that go along with it? Guys, I think this is, like, if you're a constant reader, you're gonna freaking love this. This is Stephen King at his absolute best. Like, I would easily rank this as top tier Stephen King. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm very rusty on most of my Stephen King backlog. I've just gotten back into Stephen King, but based off of it, like, there was still a whole lot to enjoy here. And I've read some other Stephen King stuff here and there, like, I've read The Shining, I've read Stephen King's It, I'm reading Night Shift, I've now read Later, I'm working on Colorado Kid. So I'm very much becoming a constant reader again. So you can definitely look forward to more Stephen King content on the channel. But guys, like, I absolutely loved everything in here. However, I do have one criticism, and that is the end of the book. Like, literally, we get a shock reveal here. And there are times when I'm reading Stephen King, and I'm like, you had to go that one step further. Like, there was the line, and then you just had to take that one step over. And I felt like the very end of this book just didn't need to be there. It was unnecessary. It was really just there for shock value. It's not as bad as those 10 pages in It, but at the same time, like, it's along the same line. Like, yes, people have secrets, and yes, like, you get to find out those secrets. This was a secret that I didn't think really benefited the story. Like, if this story had ended with the climax, I think it would have been a flawless read. But then, like, he's got to go that just half step further and throw a little bit of shock value at you, which you're already getting throughout the book. But that is really my only criticism here in Stephen King's Later. I really enjoyed it. The pages just flowed and it flew. The narrator did a really good job of immersing you into the story and really conveying the emotion and the terror and the angst and the horror that Jamie feels throughout this story. And overall, guys, like, if you have not picked up Stephen King's Later, I know it's been out for a year. I've missed the bus by a wide margin. Like, the hype for this book was back there. Like, it's already done, like, left the station. I don't even care. Like, do yourself a favor. Even if you like Stephen King, I think you should give this a try. If you're a little iffy on Stephen King, I think you should give this a try. I had a lot of fun here. It's not super scary, but it's also not hard case. Like, it's still very much a King book. And for that reason, I think a lot of people should be checking this out. One of the good things about it is structurally, I think, what was the actual chapter count at? I think chapter count's like 69 chapters. So it just flies. Like, literally 69 chapters in 252 or 270 pages. It just goes. It just, like, you're just like, bam, 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 bam. You can read this in a single sitting. It's a great palate cleanser. Frankly, I was starting to slump, and I just reached for anything I could think of, and I was like, you know what? I've got those 2 hard case novels. I've kind of been moving around like the next 3 months of TBR, going like, when am I gonna get to later? I'm like, you know what? I'm feeling kind of slumpy right now. Let's go ahead and give that a shot, and I am so glad I did, guys. I really, really loved it. I give it a very, very high recommend. So that said, guys, that is the end of this book review. I do give it a recommend. I do have one criticism on it, but that said, it was a very, very enjoyable read. Let me know in the comments down below where you kind of rank this in Stephen King's overall released works. I would really, really like to know your thoughts on it. Have you read it? Do you plan on reading it? Do you want to read it? Are you kind of iffy on it? Please let me know in the comments down below. Or if you want to talk on a more regular basis, go ahead and check that description for the link to the Whistler Duo Discord. We would love to have you. Or if you want to sign up for the Patreon and support the channel that way, your support is always welcome. That said, guys, that is the end of the video. So, till next time, guys, peace out. Stay magical. Bye. And as always, I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons.